Hi, lovely people. How are you all doing today? Today is day 3 of determining your direction, and I'm so glad you've chosen to spend these next few minutes with me. I had some great feedback from some great friends, and so I'm going to adjust a little, and I hope that this really does hit the spot and scratch where you're itching. We're thinking about determining our direction, and one of the main things that we all have under our control is our attitude, and I want to talk for a few moments about that and the fact that we can actually change and determine our attitude, and it goes a long way to determining our direction. I've always been interested in air travel. In fact, here's a little secret. I did get through the selection process to get a job on the airlines many years ago. It was a dream. I'd always wanted to travel, and I had two things when I was growing up. One was I wanted to drive and own my own car, and the second was I wanted to fly and visit places like America. Well, to date, I've travelled and been in maybe 28 different countries and lost count how many times I've been to the United States. So all those dreams have been fulfilled, but air travel has always intrigued me. How does all that metal, all those people, all their bags and baggages, all the drinks and food get on that aircraft, and how does it get off the ground? Well, it's all to do with now, I'm no physics person, but it's all to do with the speed and the thrust and the position of the wings and the aircraft as it lifts off, and how much that air underneath it lifts it and the engines keep it up there. I'm always amazed and thrilled if I'm able to travel on an aircraft. But our attitude determines the altitude. The positioning of those wings and all that's going on there determines how high that aircraft can go. And that's like with us, our attitude determines our perspective, and we can come up higher and look from a greater perspective if we have the right attitude. You can have a good attitude or a bad attitude. You can have a negative attitude or a positive attitude. And our attitude can actually be the vehicle to move us forward, to give us momentum and to propel us and get us to where we want to be. Our aptitude is all to do with our competency, how good we are at doing things. And your attitude is something that you can determine as you approach a situation or a circumstance. And so if people have the right attitudes, they can be both motivated and adaptable, which makes them more able to learn new things. Our attitude is under our control. And we hear many times people saying, I've even said it myself, I can't help the way I feel. Well, that's a big fat lie. We can help the way that we feel. Our feelings can be controlled, they can be monitored, and we can actually determine our feelings. And we can come through any circumstance if we maintain and if we gain the right attitude over it. I've got a great story that I've recently read that I want to share with you. And it's about a guy that was driving along in America, in San Francisco, and he came to a toll road where there were 17 toll booths. And as he approached the toll booth, he could see that the guy inside the toll booth was dancing, and he was intrigued, and he said, "What on earth are you doing?" He said, "I'm having a party." And he said, "But look at all the other 16 toll booths where the person was just sitting there doing his job." And he said, "What about them?" And he said, "Well, they're not invited to my party." And there he was dancing. Well, this intrigued the driver. And so the next time round, when he approached the same road, he thought, I'm going to try and find that same guy. So he did. And this is what he says. He said, "Look, you're the guy that I saw dancing last time." He said, "And you're still dancing." He said, "What about the rest of the people?" He said, "Well, what do they look like to you, all those toll booths?" He said, "Well, they look like toll booths to me." He said, No. He said, "Look closer." He said, "This is what they are." He said, "They are vertical coffins. And I can prove it." He said, "At 8:30 every morning, live people get in, then they die for 8 hours, and at 4:30, like Lazarus from the dead, they re-emerge, go home. For 8 hours, their brain is on hold, dead on the job, going through the motions. Now, this guy had developed a philosophy about his job. He decided he was going to make his job count by the attitude that he had. So the driver said, "Why do you do what you do?" He said, "I'm glad you asked that." He said, "One day I'm going to be a dancer." And he looked up to the administration building not far away and he said, "My bosses are in there and they're paying for my training." Do you like that? I think it's a great story. 16 people dead on the job, and the 17th, in precisely the same situation, figured out a way to live. He was having a party when we would have probably just been sitting there bored out of our brain. So later on, the driver asked him to go out for lunch with him and sat and chatted with him. And he said, "I don't understand why anybody would think my job is boring. I have a corner office, glass on all sides. I can see the Golden Gate, San Francisco, the Berkeley Hills. Half of the Western world takes their holidays here, and I just stroll in every day and practice dancing." And he'd made his mind up to be happy no matter what, and we can do the same. So my challenge to you today is, no matter what you're facing in your life or how mundane the day looks to you, why don't you today determine your direction by having a great attitude? Hope you've been encouraged and blessed, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for day 4 of Determine Your Direction. Bye for now.